Whew. All right. Hey, everyone. I will now call the reconvening public hearing of Tuesday, June the 24th, 2025 to order. This meeting is being convened in person and by electronic means. As such, council members may participate in person or by electronic means. Do we have anyone tapping in? Okay, great. Thank you. Yep. For council members participating by electronic means, please ensure your video is turned on and let the clerk know if you're going to leave the meeting for the purposes of confirming quorum. Council members are reminded that in accordance with section 14.13 of the procedure bylaw, members must enable their video to confirm quorum. If council members attending by electronic means lose connection during any portion of the hearing, we will recess the meeting until the connection is restored. If council members lose connection during the voting process, our team members will get you back online quickly while we suspend the voting process. The contact information has been circulated to you. Members of the public can view the proceedings via the live stream and YouTube link, which will be posted on X at Van City Clerk. Now, in case of an emergency where we need to evacuate the building, I'd like to direct your attention to the two exits just beyond the glass doors. And so you go past the pillar and you turn left. If those doors are obstructed for any reason whatsoever, please look at the four exits on the sides of this chamber. Because that'll probably be the best way to get out of this place if something happens. Please use the stairs. Do not use the elevator. If you require accessibility assistance, please remain at your location and wait for one of our incredibly gifted security team members, and they will guide you to a safe location. I'd also like to highlight the fact that there is a defibrillator just at the end of the hallway here. So if you're feeling some chest pains or spilling toast, let us know. We'll run as quickly as we can to get that for you. I'd also acknowledge that we're holding today's public hearing on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. Hey, Lisa. And would like to thank them for their generosity and their hospitality and the love and care they show this land that we get to live, work, and play on. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge our incredible team members throughout who work throughout the city of Vancouver. They are absolutely incredible, and I think as a city and as a region, we're so lucky that they choose to come here every single day to make our city a better place. That being said, Clerk, can we please have a roll call?
Yes, Mayor Simmons in the chair, Councillor Kirby-Young, Councillor Dominato. Councillor Bly has a leave of absence for civic business all day, and Councillor Fry. Councillor Montague.
Present.
Councillor Claassen. Councillor Meisner.
Present.
Councillor Jo.
Present.
Councillor Orr. Councillor Maloney. The hearing has quorum, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Now, before we begin, I do have some announcements. The public may participate by speaking in person or by phone or by submitting written comments to Mayor and Council. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Speakers should also state whether they support or oppose the recommendations and if they are a resident of Vancouver. Speakers representing 4 or more individuals or groups, including themselves, will have up to 8 minutes to speak. Each individual or group being represented must confirm their representation by introducing themselves either in person or online. Individuals represented by another speaker cannot also speak independently. Speakers may only speak once and should follow along on X at Van City Clerk for updates on the progress of the meeting so they do not miss their turn to speak. Any comments on agenda items can be submitted in writing through our online Mayor and Council public hearing feedback web form. This link will also be posted on X. Any speakers who pre-registered with presentations are reminded that the public live feed has a slight delay. To navigate through the slides of your presentation, please say next, so the clerk may advance your slides. I also want to note that the City of Vancouver's longstanding commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including utmost respect for all genders. I remind Council that when addressing speakers and team members, we will avoid using gendered honorifics and will instead refer to the person by first and last name, role, or title. A reminder that Council's role at a public hearing is to be a quasi-judicial body, which means Council is to only consider the merits of the rezoning application or heritage designation. Council members may ask clarifying questions from speakers, including the applicant, or technical advice from team members, but should save debate for after the close of the speakers list. After hearing from speakers, council may 1, approve the application in principle, 2, refuse the application, or 3, refer the application to team members for further consideration. Okay, so the next item on the docket is item number 5, CD-1 rezoning, 2158 through 2170 West 1st Avenue. At the public hearing on June the 19th, 2025, council completed items 1 through 4 and subsequently recessed, and will now resume with item 5, CD-1 rezoning for 2158 through 2170 West 1st Avenue. Before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes that they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Any conflicts? Seeing no one's hand up or anyone in the queue, I'm going to assume there are none. So now the clerk will read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by Chris Dikiakos Architects Inc. to rezone 2158-2170 West 1st Avenue from RM-4 Residential District to CD-1 Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 20-story mixed-use building containing 185 rental units with 20% of the residential floor area for below-market rental units and commercial space on the ground floor. A floor space ratio FSR of 6.8 and a height of 64.7 meters, 212 feet, with additional height for rooftop amenity space are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing. 33 pieces of correspondence in support, 0 pieces of correspondence in opposition, 83 pieces of correspondence in opposition, and 0 pieces of correspondence dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 2 p.m. today.
Thank you very much. Now, this is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445#. Before the close of the speakers list, the phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. Now, we do have our team members from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Oscar Eriksson, and I'm the rezoning planner for this application located at 2158 to 2170 West 1st Avenue. The site shown in red is located on the south side of 1st Avenue between U Street and Arbutus Street. The surrounding context consists primarily of low-rise residential apartment buildings. Parcels to the northwest along U Street are zoned for commercial use and are currently occupied by restaurants. The site is currently developed with 2 4-story purpose-built rental buildings. There are tenants on site eligible for tenant protection under the Tenant Relocation and Protection Policy. The area is well served by public transit, childcare centers, and amenities. Kitsilano Beach, Delamont Park, and Seaford Park are all within 600 meters of the site. Kitsilano Community Center is within 1 kilometer of the site. Consideration of this application is enabled by the Broadway Plan, a 30-year plan which focuses on opportunities to integrate new housing, jobs, and amenities around the new Broadway subway line. The site is located in the Kitsilano North, Area B, which allows for consideration of rezonings for 100% rental housing with 20% of the residential floor area as below-market rental units. Buildings up to 20 stories and 6.5 FSR can be considered at this location, with an increase of 0.3 FSR for ground-level local serving retail and services. The application submitted May 1st, 2024, proposes a 20-story rental tower with commercial units on the ground floor. 185 rental units are proposed, with 20% of the residential floor area as below-market rental units. A density of 6.8 FSR and a height of 212 feet are proposed. The average starting rents are shown on this table, as well as the average annual household incomes they serve. Starting rents for below market units are to be discounted at 20% below citywide average market rents. Based on recent data, rents for below market units shown in the first column would range from $1,300 for a studio unit to $2,800 for a 3-bedroom unit. A virtual Q&A period was held from September 4th to September 24, 2024, and 946 pieces of correspondence were received. Support was expressed for the contribution to the housing stock, the proposed density, and the commercial spaces, as well as the growth and vibrancy the project would bring. Concerns related to the building height, the neighborhood impact, the location of the project, traffic impacts, and safety. In response to public feedback, the scale of the proposed development is consistent with the intent of the plan for the KKNB sub-area. The project is not impacting a protected public view. Regarding neighborhood impacts, the proposed development aligns with the intent of the plan. Future development must adhere to the form of development guidelines outlined in the Broadway plan, ensuring a contextual fit with the neighborhood's character. Further, a review of the form of development will occur at the development permit stage. Additionally, services will be expanded in accordance with the public benefit strategy of the plan. The project location aligns with the expectations of the plan. The site is well connected to the public transit network and is located 750 meters from the future Arbutus station. The project is required to provide parking and loading per the parking bylaw, and it is not anticipated that the site will put additional pressure on street parking in the area. The city will continue to monitor available parking in the area, and residents may contact the engineering department via 311 regarding on-street parking inquiries and requests. Engineering conditions related to improved safety, such as upgraded speed humps in the lane, street lighting, and new sidewalk, are included in Appendix B. The public benefits resulting from this application include the 185 market rental units with 20% of the residential floor area as below market rental. The applicant will pay utilities DCL and public art contribution of approximately $2.5 million. The site was not subject to a CSE review as the below market rental units offset any land lift. In conclusion, this proposal aligns with the Broadway plan and advances the city's rental housing targets by delivering 185 rental units, of which 20% of the residential floor area is for below market rental units. Staff recommend approval, subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix B of the report. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Would the applicant team like to present the application?
Good afternoon, Mayor Sim, councilors, and members of the public. Thank you for considering our application today. My name is Nader Malik, and I'm here on behalf of Millennium Group. I firstly want to thank city staff for all their hard work on this project since October 2023. We've listened closely to staff who recommended at the letter of inquiry stage, we purchase the adjacent property to ours to meet the 150-foot minimum requirement. And we've responded to both staff and community feedback in shaping this application. Joining me today are Robert Duke from CDA Architecture, Daryl Tyak from ETA Landscape, James Todd from Somerville Community Relations, and joining us online, Kyle Brandsetter from Bunt Transportation. During our community engagement work, we've received strong support from local community organizations, existing tenants of the buildings, and neighboring property owners to ensure we're building a project that's welcomed and integrated into the community. And we're committed to continuing our community engagement efforts long after hopeful council approval. We've been working hand in hand with Somerville Community Relations in supporting the existing tenants of the building with compassion and care, and providing one-on-one communication with each tenant at all stages of the development process. Eligible tenants will be invited back to new homes with air conditioning, upgraded finishes, indoor and outdoor amenities, and other building attributes not presently available in the existing buildings. For ground floor retail, we're looking to enhance the U Street retail corridor by attracting local serving tenants that can also serve as a neighborhood hub for the community to gather. This project is about helping Kitsilano grow in a way that meets today's needs while honoring Kitsilano's charm and character. Our stance is that every neighborhood should contribute to solving the housing crisis, and that includes high amenity areas like Kitsilano. We're not asking residents to leave. We're offering new, diverse housing options for more people to join the community, where people can live, work, shop, and connect, all within a 15-minute walking distance. If approved, we're ready to move forward right away to deliver this much-needed housing. Our intention is to remain long-term owners of this building, and we're proud to be part of Kitsilano's future. Thank you very much for your time, and we welcome any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Now, are there any questions from council to our team members, the applicant team, noting that this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant? And Councillor Kirby-Young, you're first.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. My question, I'm going to direct it to the applicant, and it's with respects to the existing tenants. I know that it says the site is currently approved with the 2 4-story buildings. Of the 27 tenants that are eligible under the TRPP, can you share with us how many have elected to return? Do you know that at this point?
Thank you for your question. James Todd with Somerville Community Relations. So we have had the conversations with all tenants. We don't, until the city survey is officially has been sent out by the city and that feedback has come back, we typically don't. Sort of the process is an ongoing process. It is the majority of tenants are indicating that they want to return. I don't have an exact number today, unfortunately.
Okay, but by majority you mean?
More than 50%
More than 50.
at this point. And that's what we're seeing across a lot of pickup and a lot of interest in the right of first refusal to return.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No one else on the queue? Okay, great. This is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item, if you wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106-1445 # before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. We're now going to hear from the public. Any registered speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium when your name is called. Speakers will have up to 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Now, our first speaker is Nettie Wild. Is Nettie in the chamber? Hi, Nettie.
Well, ooh, everything's moving here. Just let me get my timer going here so that I can do this right. I can't do it. I'll just wing it. So my name is Nettie Wild. I'm a filmmaker and a neighbor, and I'm speaking against this proposal because while the below market rents in this proposed tower are affordable, these rates apply to only 20% of the building. 80% of the units are pitched at middle and upper income renters. Yet statistics show that it's lower income households who are at the heart of this crisis. This proposal promises this tower will, quote, integrate well into the existing neighborhood with a sensitivity to the current scale of the existing buildings and meets the needs of the community. Really? Please show slide 1. You'll up already. These are the buildings on our street with a building code limit of up to 4 stories. Compare this to slide 2, please. The sheer bulk of this 20-story building will literally overshadow our family neighborhood. And only 37% of these units are 2 or 3 bedroom apartments which can house families. This means the vast majority are single bedrooms or studios with no rooms for kids. How the heck can this tower meet the needs of the community if there's no room for families? Further, to build this project and accommodate the 20% below market housing, developers have to build 18 stories of market rentals and commercial space to make the project viable. And this new tower has exactly the same number of below market suites as the old building for a net gain of 0. This math does not meet the needs of our housing crisis. So, how can we create affordable housing for those most in need? The answer? We need to take the profit out of housing. We need federal and provincial financing to create more not-for-profit housing that remains permanently affordable. Now, obviously, providing federal funding is beyond the scope of this council. But just as your staff and city planners have paved the way for the towers of the Broadway plan, you could do the same for not-for-profit housing co-ops, which would provide affordable and secure housing for the majority of its members, not just 20%. And Vancouver already has the institutional infrastructure to turn housing funded under new supply programs into communities that are truly affordable. For example, the Community Land Trust. Created by the Cooperative Housing Federation of BC, the trust is a social purpose real estate developer with a mission to acquire, create, and preserve affordable housing for present and future generations. Solutions like this are what is needed to humanize the Broadway plan. Co-ops work for many reasons. Take mine, for example, right across the street from the proposed tower. Advance to slide 3, please. We built it 41 years ago with federal support and with help from City Council. This partnership allowed us to create nonprofit, permanently affordable housing for our members. Instead of paying a landlord ever-increasing rents, we pay only what it costs to maintain our buildings. Now the profit is in living in affordable housing on a living wage. We built 44 units within 6 buildings surrounding a courtyard that provides a green space and a much-loved and much-used gathering space. Please advance to slide 4. Instead of a market-driven tower, can we not build an affordable and very livable co-op in its place? Would it be bigger than pictured here? Yes. Higher density? Yes. But still built on a scale that fosters meaningful human interaction. I urge this council to not vote for this tower and instead call for a redesign and an economic model that keeps our street affordable and truly contributes to the needs of our community. And come visit our courtyard. You will find a sustainable space that we, co-op members, the federal government, and City Council all built together. I'm not a planner, an architect, or a developer, but I am an enthusiastic, if alarmed, neighbor. I'm deeply grateful to City staff for patiently answering my questions, and I thank you, Mayor and Council, for listening.
Thank you very much, Nettie. And right on time. Oh, Councillor Fry.
Yeah, Nettie,
Please, Nettie,
sorry.
if you can stay here. You have a question from Councillor Fry, if that's okay.
Hi, Nettie. Oh, yeah, just quick question. Because you'd mentioned the unit mix being mostly for singles. Where did you get that? Because I'm trying to, did you?
I got it from staff.
Okay, because it doesn't indicate that in the report, but I'm going to.
Oscar, help.
I'll ask after. I'll ask. I can ask.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I did a number count myself, and staff was kind enough to verify that basically we're looking at the majority of units cannot accommodate families.
Okay, because the report on page 50, I believe, indicates 58 one-bed, 44 two-bed, 21 three-bed, I think. But I'll ask staff afterwards. It's a good highlight because, yes, I
Okay.
want that family-friendly stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yeah.
And I was going to comment, I think you practiced it because you nailed it right at 5 minutes. So that was pretty impressive. So thank you very much. The next speaker we have is speaker number 2, Vera Gioriva. And I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
You are, but that's not uncommon. Viara Giorva, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your time today. My name is Viara, and I have been a tenant at 2158 West First Avenue since 2018. I'm opposed to this proposal and the Broadway plan in its current iteration. I know that today will end in you approving this project, and likely most, if not all, the ones that come across your desk. So I have 2 requests for your consideration. When I first got the letter in the mail that my building was being demolished, I was shocked and devastated, but I engaged in the process. I left comments and questions. I even spoke on the phone with staff to get answers to my questions. And while everyone has been lovely, the fact that most of my incredibly basic questions had no answers has led me to believe that you are profoundly fumbling this. To call this a plan is deeply disingenuous, as there is no plan for services and amenities, no plan for schools and daycares, no plan for doctors and clinics, no plan for updates to traffic or parking, not even a plan for where these buildings will go. You have no plan. Building housing without consideration for services and amenities,
Hello,
especially...
this is the city moderator. I am just hoping to identify a speaker with the last 4 digits.
Sorry, I'll add some time to your.
Okay, great.
Sorry about the interruption.
That's okay. You have no plan. Building housing without consideration for services and amenities, especially when access is an existing issue, is irresponsible. It's not as simple as just building housing. These are not short-term structures, nor are they small increases in population, and there needs to be thought and intention put into neighborhood planning. This leads to my first request. Begin reviewing these proposals in relation to each other. Ideally, actually prioritize them based on public need, not order of application. I see that in the attached documents for today, staff have outlined existing amenities in the neighborhood as well as school capacity. This means nothing if you're not aware of all the proposed towers in the area. I know that this is a 30-year plan, but right now there are 3 buildings up for redevelopment in addition to this one, so that's 4, within 1 to 2 blocks. Imagine the whole school catchment. Offering up 500 city blocks as a free-for-all for developers has been a grave error, and it's not too late for you to fix it. We're not only in a housing crisis, but in an affordability crisis. Unfortunately, I struggle to see how the Broadway plan addresses the most important part of this: affordability. You're actively bulldozing existing communities that showcase the best of Vancouver: gentle density, walkable neighborhoods, small local businesses, and existing affordable rentals. Sure, you're providing more supply, but as far as I can tell, none of it will be affordable and therefore accessible to regular people. Meanwhile, according to your very own data, over half of Vancouver's land is used by 15% of homes. Might I add, all of these homes cost millions. Instead of introducing gentle density throughout the whole city while preserving the affordable rentals we already have, you are destroying our existing rental supply and supercharging it into something unaffordable and unlivable. After the Broadway plan is done wreaking havoc, my generation will be condemned to living in expensive shoeboxes because the multi-million-dollar starter home is certainly out of reach for most. I struggle to understand who all of this is for. It certainly isn't for existing residents, and considering the lack of care, consideration, and planning, it also isn't for future residents. It isn't for seniors or students or families or low-income people. From what I can see, you have actively sold out our city to developers or investors who can continue to turn Vancouver into a playground for the rich. I cannot express to you how desperately I want to be wrong about this. So, as you tear down my home and damage my community beyond repair, I come to my second request. Require developers to release projected rent amounts for all units in their applications, backlogging to projects already in this process. So much has been made of 20% of units being rented out at 20% below market. When you start walking around and doing the math on all the development signs, as I do, the 20% just about replaces what we're losing when we tear down existing buildings. These below market units will be offered to current tenants, many of whom will have no choice but to accept them. So the majority of what will be made available to the public will be at market. How much does a developer expect to rent a studio for? A 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom. Of course, these numbers are speculative, but I know they exist because they're necessary for a business plan. So please prove me wrong and demonstrate just how affordable all of this will be by making these numbers public. The people of Vancouver deserve to know what they're getting out of this plan. I understand that you're in an incredibly difficult position trying to provide housing for our city. I just have to believe that there's a better way of doing this. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And once again, read it 5 minutes. Yep. And Viara, I think you have a question, Councillor Orr.
Yeah, you said you had questions for staff that remained unanswered. What were those questions exactly?
I had 19 questions. It was in my original submission. A lot of them were many of the things that I listed. What's the plan for parking? What's the plan for additional services? What's the plan for additional amenities? What's the plan for sewage upgrades? What's the plan for just basic things that you need to alter when you add in tens of thousands of people into community? Because it's not one building. It's many, many, many buildings. I would love for any of you to come for a walk in Kitsilano with me to see what it has turned into. And there is no plan for how we're going to address any of this.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, speaker number 3 has withdrawn. Speaker number 4, Taylor Westermark Curran.
Hey, Council. My name's Taylor Curran. I'm not involved in development or real estate. I live in Vancouver and I rent a 1-bedroom with my partner in Fairview. I lived for 2 years just down the block from this proposed project at 1957 West 1st. This is one of the most convenient, amenity-rich, accessible, desirable locations in the entire city. It's a 5-minute walk to West 1st, 5-minute walk to Kitts Beach. In 10 minutes, you can bike or take the bus downtown, and it's a short walk to Broadway and the new SkyTrain. It's just blocks from the elementary school, which is being expanded. This is exactly the location that we want to be building new housing. This height and density, I think, is totally appropriate. Towers twice this big are being built just down the road at Sanok. There's dozens of Broadway plan towers in the pipeline. This is going to be as totally normal in this neighborhood in a generation as a 20-story tower would be in the West End today. I'm sure a lot of speakers are going to talk about how the units in here are tiny and unlivable. When I lived in the neighborhood, I rented a 750 square foot 2-bedroom with 2 other guys, and I lived in a closet that was barely big enough for a bed. No air conditioning, no laundry, no amenities, no bike parking. Not building new housing doesn't mean that new residents are going to get spacious, nicer units. It means they're going to get priced out of the neighborhood completely, or they're going to be crammed into even less livable, more precarious housing. Ultimately, your decision on this project and on every single one of the Broadway plan projects shouldn't depend on whether it's in Kitts or Fairview or Mount Pleasant. It shouldn't depend on how many people come out to oppose it. It shouldn't even depend on people like me who are taking time out of their workday to come out here and support projects like this. It should depend on 2 simple questions. Do we need more rental housing in Vancouver? And is this the right spot to build it? On both questions, I think the answer is clearly yes. Thank you.
Great, Taylor, thank you very much. Speaker number 5, Hakon Coyote. Is he on, sorry, is Hakon online?
I'm just checking, Mayor.
Hello?
Hi, please go ahead.
My name's Falcon. I live in Vancouver, and I'm calling to support the project. I actually live just a couple blocks away, and I just wanted to share what an incredibly nice neighborhood it is. I'm sure most of you on council are well aware, having been down to Kitts Beach and been to the pool and U Street and all of the incredible things that are around here. But it's such a fantastic place to live. This project is going to add, 100 more people, 100 more homes to this neighborhood and provide that opportunity to so many more people. And yes, it will bring change. Of course, there'll be more people here. There'll be more people to support the local businesses, to use the beach and the amazing facilities we have. And I just think it would be such a shame if we didn't share that. So I really urge you to vote in support. And I hope that this can, leverage some really good things. Hopefully the renewal of the Kitts Pool in short order, as well as maybe looking again at a pedestrianized U Street, which I think would be really fantastic and is right beside where this project is. So again, I really urge you to vote in support, and I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. The next speaker is number 6, Christoph Kesting. Is Christoph in the chamber? Okay. The next speaker is speaker number 7, Jane McFadden. Hi, Jane. Are you on the line? All right, I take that high back then. Speaker number 8, Georgia Damianos. Is Georgia on the line there? No, okay. Speaker number 9 has withdrawn. Speaker number 10, Robin Fan.
Hello. Well, thank you, Council, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I'm here to speak in support of the project. I'm sure you've heard many of these points before, so I'll be brief and summarize into 3 key points. Number 1, this is a strong project within the Broadway plan, providing housing for hundreds of residents and commercial space that will be shops, services, cafes, restaurants for the local community and the city as a whole. Number 2, while I can't precisely predict what the rents might be when the building's built or in the decades after, I can guarantee that all the units will be filled with residents who are happy and chose to be there. And they're there because the mix of rent, location, floor plan, etc., was the most optimal for them. And that's what building additional housing supply does. It gets more options for renters. And my third point is, out of those hundreds of future residents, very likely none of them would be here today or even have heard of this process. And that's how public hearings are. So in a way, I'm here to speak and say maybe what they would like to say. And so with all that, I hope you support the project and continue to do good work on housing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Robin. Speaker number 11 has withdrawn. Speaker number 12, Blake Davies.
I just heard, Mayor, that speaker number 12 has withdrawn.
Okay. Speaker number 13 is Lisa Slakov. Is Lisa on the
Yes.
line? Hi, Lisa.
Hello, can you?
We can hear you great. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, my name is Lisa Slakov. I am a Vancouver resident, and I'm speaking in support of this development from the perspective of active transportation, bicycling specifically, and encouraging those two. I'm not only a Vancouver resident, but for 40 years I've been an active community member, resident in a number of different homes, all within 7 blocks of this proposed development, so really know the area well. I've been involved in encouraging active transportation and particularly bicycling for many, many years. I've been impressed that Millennium Group reached out to various Kitts community members regarding this project, seeking our ideas and support. And they consequently contacted me since I've worked on cycling advancements in the area for many years. I understand that they want to be long-term Kitts community members, renting out homes here, and they want to participate as such. And since active transportation and bicycling promotion are no longer a nice to do, but imperative as we deal with city livability, congestion issues, and climate change, in my opinion, this building looks to be a great addition for cycling residents. There appear to be excellent bike facilities planned, including a majority of bike spaces on level 1, which, from my experience, is a real rarity in larger buildings, or actually any buildings. Usually you're going down into the depths of the building. I understand that the developers plan to contract with Hub Cycling's bike-friendly development services, which, in my opinion, will provide excellent advice and show, on the part of Millennium Group, a real commitment to excellence in terms of their bike facilities and bike parking. So in conclusion, I want to thank you for this opportunity to share my views on this and a big vote of approval for the proposed addition to cycling and cycling residents in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is speaker number 14, Rohan Sarai.
Hello?
Hi, please go ahead.
Hi. Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Rohan, and I just wanted to say a few words in support of this project. I know there's been a lot of opposition to this proposal, and I get that change is hard, especially in a neighborhood that people very deeply care about. But I also think it's worth asking, who are we making space for in kids today? And who are we shutting out, even unintentionally? This isn't some generic tower slapped onto the side of a beach. It's a rental building with below market units and in a way that actually listens to the community. It's near transit, it includes tenant protections, and will let more people who work in this neighborhood or even price out of it have a shot at living here. We talk about Kitsilano's character, and it's amazing, but character doesn't just come from the buildings, it comes from the people. And right now, way too many people can't afford to be here, or even stay here. That's what we're losing. This project won't fix everything, but it's a step towards a more welcoming, a more lively version of this neighborhood, and I think that's worth supporting. Thank you for listening, and I hope you vote yes on this project.
Great, thank you very much. Speaker number 15 has withdrawn. Speaker number 6 is Michelle Barral.
Hello?
Hi, Michelle, please go ahead.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I'm calling in support of this project. I completely agree with the previous speaker's points about the people that make the character of the neighborhood. And on that note, my 14 years of working with the West Broadway BIA, I've been very fortunate to engage with developers that care about the community and want to contribute to it. And this is no exception. The time that's been taken for Millennium to meet with community partners, to listen to their feedback, is the most that I've seen in my experience. And I think that the considerations that will be made for the retail space to have smaller independent businesses, the considerations for the units to be larger than they need to be, albeit I do understand the previous speaker's points about family and the size of units that families need, but families do come in different sizes as well. So that should also be considered. I think that overall this project will be a much needed addition of housing in the community, and that the developer's intention is to truly support the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is number 17, Tony Lutvenchuk. Tony here. Okay, speaker number 18, Josie Shayer. Okay, speaker number 19, Jamin Monga. On the line. Is Jamin there? Okay. Disconnected. Okay, speaker number 20, Stephen Boas. Stephen here? Nope. Okay, speaker number 21, Stanley Lee.
Am I on the line?
Hi, please go ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank this council for not cutting the speaking length from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, even though I'm pretty sure you guys would want to move on from this item anyway. I do understand that there is a scarcity of economic opportunity in this town, and I'm also well aware that I'm not supposed to ask questions here, nor that you would answer the questions. However, I would like to pose these quick questions on the record for all to see who's actually thinking rather than following orders. First of all, I would like to ask, as a couple of previous speakers have already mentioned, this development is actually relatively far away from the major transit hubs. Therefore, it's not even quite in the Broadway plan transit-oriented areas. And I have my doubts about what kind of shops would be nearby, at least near enough to fulfill the necessities. So my first question to put into consideration is, who's going to bear the brunt on the congestion? Because if this development is far enough away from transit hubs, I seriously doubt people are gonna take transit rather than drive. And please also keep, even though this is not entirely related, there's also going to be traffic from the Sanok development nearby that's going to contribute into the traffic. And speaking of more traffic, there's going to be more cars. I would also love the input from the Yinby Army in the chamber to consider who will also bear the brunt on the street parking being full nearly all the time, not to mention the increased probabilities of traffic accidents involving cyclists, given the lack of safe cycling transportation network. Also, there are a lot of walk-up, low-rise rental buildings right now that are going to be displaced. So I believe there's also affordable housing being removed. I have my doubts about the ratio between the current inventory of affordable housing in the area versus what's going to be replaced. And I think there's also fine print in terms of the language there, in terms of the rental agreement. So my next question into consideration is, where would you suggest kicking these existing tenants to? And also, my final question into consideration is that, let's just assume whatever I just mentioned aren't issues, they're resolved, or that you don't care. How likely will this development carry through rather than having this be another way to further inflate property values in order to collect more taxes? I'm only mentioning this given the overall real estate economy, the financing, and there's also recent reporting on this developer on the news about financing issues, which is getting probably widespread with a lot of developers in town. Anyway, those are all my comments, and quite frankly, even hotel shoeboxes would have been a better alternative, because at least they would put less pressure on school capacity while making your bosses more money. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Stanley. The next speaker we have is speaker number 22, Michael Todori. Michael? Michael?
Anyone knows Vancouver Canucks, number 22? Is that Daniel Sedin? Come on.
Tiger Williams.
What?
Tiger Williams,
That too.
22. There you go.
So is this a one-way process? We don't ask me questions?
Council at their discretion can ask questions at a public hearing, yeah.
Okay, I'm over for questions. So I'm here in support of this proposal, and the reason being this. I live in Kitts for about 22 years. I used to live on a second in Burrard. I used to be building manager, and I managed building there for 10 years. These buildings are getting old, okay? So from Burrard to McDonald's or to Cornwall, there's old buildings. Owners don't want to maintain, people live in shoeboxes. So a little bit nervous. I've never done this before, so.
You're doing great. It's all good.
Thank you. Let's talk about hockey, and I'll be okay, or soccer. Anyway, sorry, I'll be within 5 minutes. So, the whole neighborhood did a whole revitalization. Why have all these old buildings? We have one tower, newer, and this addressed the micro market in this area. People like to talk about Broadway corridor, but we're talking about that specific neighborhood. So that's the reason I am favor this proposal. Number two is about the developer. They are really good people. Everywhere they went, Burnaby, North Shore, they did right by the locals, and I think they will be good for this neighborhood. Case in point, how many of you went to a Greek festival? The developers are there. You want to understand the community, right? Does Colinas does that? I don't think so. So this developer cares about. They're going to do right by the neighbors, locals or coming to Vancouver. Open for questions.
Thank you. Well, there are no questions, but thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Good seeing you, Michael. Speaker number 23, Sal Robinson. Sal, are you on the line?
I am indeed.
Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Sal Robinson. I live in Vancouver and actually in Kitsilano for the last 40 plus years, and I've watched it change over time, certainly. But I want to talk to you about an aspect of this and all of these developments that seems to be glossed over. My 40 years working in Vancouver schools taught me that children and families rely on their neighborhood school to be a constant in lives that can be uncertain and unstable, especially when parents are renters and apartment dwellers. I worked in the West End, and that's pretty much what you had there. A strong school community may be the only thing in a child's life that makes going home manageable some days. So when we plan a neighborhood where every new kid on the block has to go to school far from home, that kid loses. The neighborhood schools for this proposal are Henry Hudson Elementary and Kitsilano Secondary. The referral report relies on 5-year-old school board projections that both will be under capacity in 2031. This is absurd. Hudson has just been rebuilt and, with a current capacity of 352, is already undergoing an addition. A VSB report from 1 month ago on this number of children living today in Hudson's catchment indicates there will be 485 of them at Henry Hudson in 2031, plus the kindergarteners who aren't born yet, and minus the dim-evicted ones who will be, well, who knows where. I studied half a dozen active rezonings in the Henry Hudson catchment area, not counting this one, and got out my calculator. Just 6 proposals, if rezoned and built, will generate 476 family-sized units. That doesn't mean a whole new school the size of Hudson will be needed, because some of the kids will be old enough to go to Kitts, and we don't know how many families will be thrown out of the homes that will be demolished to make way for the towers. But when you add the family-sized units in buildings already approved, just in the Hudson catchment, that's 608 more. And then there's all the children who will squeeze into one-bedroom apartments because that's what the family budget will allow. Teenagers are no better off. 1,575 children who will be of secondary school age in 2031 now live in the Kitsilano secondary catchment. That exceeds Kitts' capacity by 75. I worked at King George when students perched on windowsills and bookshelves because there weren't enough desks. It's not fair. Just 2 new West Broadway buildings, the Stories at Granville and the Raven at Alma, together will contribute 139 2- and 3-bedroom units to the Kitsilano secondary catchment. Other approved Broadway plan projects add another 234. And let's not forget Sanok. How far from home will kids at First and U have to go to find a school with space for them? The point is that there is no neighborhood school for one single child who might live in this building should it ever be built, and that is bad planning. Dearth of school space aside, I would oppose this project due to its overwhelming height. It is an enormous view-wrecking, beach-shading colossus, and the best possible argument against the Broadway plan is the fact that it permits such a proposal to be considered on this site. First and U has nothing to do with Broadway and everything to do with Cornwall and Kitts Beach. Applying the deeply flawed Broadway plan to a site so clearly removed from the Broadway subway in distance and in context is a failure of imagination that you have the power to fix. Yes, the province can pretend that a 900-meter walk is close to a subway station and make you allow an 8-story building, but I hope you will respect the well-considered decision of the 1972 City Council, who agreed that with all the residents that towers along the waterfront were wrong. Their good judgment has stood the test of time. Please don't give them the 212-foot finger and reject this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sal. The next speaker is speaker number 24, Cheryl Webster.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Webster, and I oppose this project. City planning has chosen to allow this project in this form, not the provincial government, as they do not mandate this height so far away from a SkyTrain station. School spaces, as the previous speaker said, in this catchment via walking will be full from all the current developments, resulting in more driving to the next available school, making this not family-friendly and adding to congestion. Plus, the affordable units in this building may be equal in number, but less in square footage, so this is a net negative. However, the biggest issue I have with this project is the lack of setbacks. Setbacks can make or break a project, a neighborhood, and this city that is known for its leafy tree-lined streets. The argument for towers in neighborhoods is often equated to how great the West End is, but the West End buildings have setbacks that allow for mature vegetation and enhance the pedestrian experience, keeping the streets cool and quiet. I beg of you to walk around the neighborhoods that you claim to be replicating, like the West End. Then apply that design knowledge to this project. This tower is going to be in a neighborhood, not on an arterial. We don't need the towers to come to the edge of the property line and create a hard edge. I know the argument is for retail, but businesses are already struggling in this area, so why not support what is already there? Please don't approve this ill-conceived tower project making this neighborhood into Miami Beach, respecting the existing neighborhood and the look and feel while increasing density by ensuring setbacks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is speaker number 12, Dario Franco.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you great.
Perfect.
Please go ahead.
I just want to speak in support of this project. I live across the street, and honestly, it's such a great neighborhood, and to see more people come to the neighborhood, I think it's super important. I have family in the neighborhood who live a couple blocks away, who I've actually seen benefit from some of the newer projects. They're getting evicted by the landlord because the landlord's selling their project, selling the unit, and they're able to actually get into one of the market rentals in a different building, maybe not in the neighborhood, but somewhere else. And I've seen the benefit of these 20% below market rentals. It's helped my family, and I can see it help many more families to come into the neighborhood, to be able to afford this neighborhood, and also to just contribute to the community. And having more commercial space is great. We already see just by Kitts Beach, everything that's going on. We saw the new pilot that came with batch and down low chicken that's down at the beach, and just the expansion of just more retailers, bringing more people to the neighborhood, and helping our economy there, the local economic good. I think it's just such a fantastic project, and I just can't wait to see it go up.
Great. Thank you very much, Dario. The next speaker is number 26, Jane McFadden.
Hi, everyone. I apologize. I missed my speaking time earlier. I was just in a meeting for Catsalano, so I apologize for that. I'm calling to speak in support of this project on behalf of the businesses of West 4th, which is only a few blocks away from this project. If you asked any of my businesses, they want more customers, they want more diners and shoppers and people to go to the workouts and the gyms and all of the things that are offered on West 4th, and how amazing would it be to have people that worked and lived in our community. Oftentimes, I hear from businesses that they have to travel so far in order to come to work on West 4th. Many of them live actually outside Vancouver and have an hour to an hour and a half commute to get to Kitsilano. So I would love to see some people, being able to walk to work and support the business community on West 4th in terms of not having that challenge of hiring someone that's super local that actually lives in Kitsilano. I think the project is actually quite beautiful, and I do think that it's close to transit. It's going to be close to the Arbutus SkyTrain station. It's going to be just off Cornwall, and of course many bike routes along the way and around it. So I'm in support of this on behalf of the businesses of Vancouver, and I hear and respect, of course, the residents' concerns around schooling and all of those things that is an infrastructure problem. And yes, I agree, we do need all of that. And I imagine that council is taking that into consideration and pushing those people in those positions to just engage with the community as well for what is needed. But in terms of this project, I'm fully in support of it, and I hope that you are as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. The next speaker is number 27, Sarah McLeod.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name's Sarah, and I live in Vancouver. Reading the report, I have questions, and then if anyone has an opportunity to ask questions, I think they're good ones. Like the report says that after removing the current site trees and 3 trees due to poor condition. Oh, that's where my first questions came from. Is it possible to know what poor condition, disease, dehydration, construction, or activities close to it? Those kinds of questions. Is there a way to get more detail on poor condition? And then the report says that 9 are required, but when you go to the tree protections bylaw and the amount of square meterage that it is, 1900 or 1949, it says 16. So I wonder where they get the 9 number. That's my other question. And then there's 6 city street trees proposed as well. So that gets you to 15. So people have already pointed out, like, just letting the developers take more and more and more and actually enabling and helping by, like, letting their numbers include the city trees. I don't know. Like, it's a question to ask. Is that what's happening? And you're still not even meeting the 16 with that. Oh, because there's a tree on the adjacent lot, 1 tree that they do plan to save. So you do get to the number 16, actually. We worked it out. So it's a good question to ask, because that's not, that's the owner's job to provide that. That's them being a good owner neighbor, because it's the space that we all interact with when we walk anywhere in the city. That was my kind of first bunch of questions. Someone earlier mentioned that, like, a lot of the housing isn't suitable for families, and then Councillor asked like how to get that number, I guess, or that's what I heard. And it's true. Like, I was talking to some people recently, and I've been knocking doors, and some person mentioned, we were just having a conversation about families and starting families, and I live in a 2-bedroom currently, and I think I mentioned here, like, I've looked into fostering or caregiving, and like, it's always a discussion of, like, you kind of need that third. So as much as in the wording for family housing, they include the 2-bedroom and the 3-bedroom in the numbers, but like, it's really, if you just talk to a person, it's like, you need 3 really to give space to a family of children, and like that is growing, like just like you need to give space to the trees to grow, like obviously. And so if you just use that number, so 3 bedrooms instead of 2 bedrooms, it's only 10% of the units are 3 bedrooms. And then in the details, even further in the report, it says out of the 10% of the 3 bedrooms of units, 10% of them need to be designed suitably for families with children. Well, don't you think all of them should be? Because that's the only place the families and children can fit to live? Like, really? Like, when you look at it, it's all there. And then just with another concern that is on my mind about a lot of them, but I am really educated in this field. So if someone has answers and can quickly quell them, great. Which is like digging so far and like not understanding that everything in the earth is like what's feeding the water, which is underneath the ground, and it's feeding all of our healthy systems. So it's like and then how to do it properly. I just have a few doubts that some owner, applicant, contractor, whoever ends up doing the work are like fully aware of the Heritage Conservation Act. And that's where I mean, it's not my education. Like maybe some, surveys have already been done. And I learned today from someone else, like there's usually a meter that's before you hit clay, and then clay's from a different time. But like, is that the case everywhere? So I'll admit I need to learn more about that. But like, I don't have much faith that it's being looked at. And it is really on the homeowners to be aware of this. And before doing any ground disturbing activities such as digging for basements or utilities, and a lot of these have parking lots, and is a parking lot different than a basement. So yeah, those are my thoughts and questions, and hopefully there's answers. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. Speaker number 28, Jamin Monga. Jamin.
Good evening, Mayor Sim. I'm really sorry about missing my turn to speak earlier on.
It's all good. Please go ahead.
Thank you. A very good evening to the Honorable Mayor Sim and the Vancouver City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm here to deliver my thoughts on this project proposal as a university student and express my support for the proposed redevelopment application. At a time when Vancouver faces intersecting crises, housing affordability, climate change, and growing inequality, I believe that this project appropriately addresses all of these concerns. Kitsilano is one of the most desirable and land-constrained neighborhoods in Vancouver, yet its housing stock remains largely static and low density. Now, that imbalance between demand and supply continues to push prices out of reach for many, especially renters, students, young families, and working professionals. Therefore, a project that's compliant with the FSR requirement of almost 7 and a 20% reservation for below market rentals is a welcome effort. It ensures that not only higher income households, but also teachers, healthcare workers, and others who make our city function can live closer to where they enjoy and where they work. It's also a rare opportunity to expand rental housing stock in a neighborhood that has long lacked new purpose-built rentals. Many of my friends and I not only wish to live in Kitsilano, but have also lived there in the past or are currently living there. So that's why I find this development particularly exciting. Whether we've been born here or chosen the city as our home, we love this place and want to continue contributing to the city. But of course, living in Kitsilano is a privilege, like it is in any neighborhood. But my understanding is that projects like these will expand this privilege to many more residents by number and by income. Ultimately, what has always been a concern for many Vancouverites has been housing stock, and low density does not help the existing situation. Enjoying Vancouver's offerings should not be an economic challenge or a sacrifice for residents, and high density development helps with this. Like many others, I too want to live in a place that values inclusion, sustainability, and access. A place where people of different income levels can live side by side and have access to the neighborhood and community that exemplifies what life in Vancouver is and should be like. In conclusion, I urge Council to approve this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamin. The next speaker is Stephen Bohas.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name's Stephen Bose. I'm a Vancouver resident and a renter, and I'm opposed to this rezoning. There are a lot of reasons that I'm opposed to. I'll note that this is located at the northern boundary of the plan area. And it's on one side of the street has 3 to 4 story buildings, and the other side is 20-story buildings per the Broadway plan, and that really doesn't make any sense from a planning point of view. U Street was a pedestrian pilot zone a couple of years ago. The slope is downhill, and all shadows are accentuated downhill. Shadows would actually reach Kitts Beach Park during the winter. U Street functions as a village high street, so this would introduce new shadow, not just on the equinox, but later on during the fall. It actually doesn't follow the Broadway plan. The floor-to-floor height maximum is exceeded on level floor at 10 foot 8 inches, level 20 or 11 feet, more than 10 feet. The floor plate is bigger, 6,800 square feet, bigger than 6,500 square feet, and not all of the units have balconies. It's a requirement under the Broadway plan to have every single unit have outdoor space, whether it's a balcony or ground floor access. In the tower, you can see that there are 3 units per floor that don't have a balcony. And things get even worse on the podium, levels 2 to 4. 9 units don't have balconies, and 6 do. And all of the below market rentals would be on the podium, on the area that would lack most of the balconies. So this council could make an amendment to require balconies for all of the units, as per the Broadway plan. The Broadway plan was started in Division Vancouver on June the 20th, 2018. I'll just note that Division Vancouver is very heavily funded by the development industry, such as companies such as West Bank. And if you look at the original plan in terms of reference, the Broadway plan area, this is actually outside of the focus area for that document. And it would have not looked really in a focus area north of 5th and west of Burrard. You can go back and look at the history. So that's important consideration there. Now, in terms of the Broadway plan and the entire context, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And let's talk about the $1 billion mortgage that the City of Vancouver and Penny Ballum forgave Millennium back in 2011. And let's talk about the $100 million bailout of Millennium behind closed doors that occurred at a previous council. I know no one was on council, but it's an important topic of discussion because we're looking at potentially giving a very large rezoning to Millennium here. If you go back to the Vancouver Courier or Vancouver is Awesome, there's an article called City Foregoes $1 billion Millennium Mortgage by Bob Mackin on October 11, 2011. And just the first paragraph says, City Manager Penny Ballum discharged the beleaguered developer of the Olympic Village and a controversial West End Tower from a mortgage once worth $1 billion, according to the documents filed last February with the Land Title Office.
Stephen, I'll give you a little bit of latitude, but if we can sort of talk about the merits of the project.
Okay.
As opposed to what's happened in the past with the previous council and what have you.
Okay, but I will get back to there. I will make the point that Millennium did receive a $100 billion bailout behind closed doors, and we don't have the documents yet. That should be made public before any decision is made. Back to the bigger picture items. So yeah, staff say they had all this consultation and 800, 900 plus. It's a feedback, and there are 3 or 4 lines of feedback of people with concerns, not people who are opposed, but with concerns, and a lot of the feedback wasn't captured. The rezoning planner was even on vacation during part of that Q&A session, and I think that's indicative of the consultation process. The Shape Your City process is not a credible process for consultation. There's no auditing from external sources. They can pick and choose whatever comments they want. In the referral report, staff have left out key facts that it doesn't follow the Broadway plan on several points. And this is actually the wrong place for development because you would actually have to tear down existing 4-story rental buildings full of tenants. This is the kind of housing that you would want to keep and preserve to build high-rise towers. And this isn't affordable. Even the below-market rental units are more than what I'm currently paying rent. So, Council, I would urge you to make an amendment to require balconies and also to turn down this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Clerk, do we have any other speakers?
Just checking. None at the moment there.
Okay, so this is the third and final call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445#. Before the close of the speakers list, the phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. So if there are any additional speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. We are now going to take a 5-minute recess.
2.
Oh, sorry, 2. I thought that was a typo. Okay. We are only going to take a 2-minute recess for any additional speakers to call in and come forward to the podium. Okay. Okay, so seeing no further speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing that there are few or no public comments received after 3 p.m., I'm now going to close the receipt of public comments. Does the applicant team have any closing comments? Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for considering our application today, Mayor Sim and councilors and members of the public. As I mentioned, if approved, we're ready to move forward right away with this much-needed housing project. And we're wanting to remain long-term owners in this neighborhood, and we're very proud to be part of Kitsilano's future. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do our team members have any closing comments?
No closing comments by staff.
Thank you very much. Does council have any final questions for our team members? Yes, Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks. I have a question to staff, and it was, I wonder if you can clarify what we heard from one of the speakers suggesting that this was not compliant with the Broadway plan because there were no balconies and that balconies are required. Can staff provide some perspective on that, please?
We have Grace Jang, development planner from the development planning team here to answer that question. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Grace Jiang from Planning. Yeah, we do have a condition in the Appendix B requiring provide balconies for all units.
Okay, so there is a condition in the report itself that stipulates, so every unit will have a balcony.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and then with respects to shadowing, will this shadow the beach?
It's shadowing in winter morning, but it's compliance with the guideline. It's not shadowing on the beach during between spring and fall equinox between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's
Okay,
compliant.
So it complies with the current
Yeah.
policy. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Councillor Meisner.
Yeah, thanks. I had a similar question raised by one of the speakers as well. One of the speakers mentioned that they did not believe that this was compliant with Broadway plan due to the floor to ceiling height, I guess, on the last few levels. I'm just wondering if staff can comment on that.
Thanks for the question. It is compliant. The floor-to-floor height is 10 foot. It's as the plan suggested. The reason is overall height is higher than the anticipated 20-story because the slope of site. The overall building height is measured from the lowest point to the top of the roof slab. So that's the slope from has 25 feet from the high point to the low point. So that's usually 20 stories will has 200 feet and plus some slope, the condition around the 220. That's very normal. What's now the height is 210, something like that.
Okay.
It's completely compliant.
Okay, thank you. And then just one more question on that. Is this 20 stories kind of the maximum building height we could see in this area under Broadway plan?
Yeah, that's correct. However, this building is because include the commercial at grade, so it is allowed maximum 21 stories. What's the proposal is 20 stories, which is 1 story lower than the maximum.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fry.
Yeah, thanks. Similar questions about the shadow study that Stephen Boas brought up there. I'm looking at the map and I don't see a shadow study included for the winter. I see September, June, and March. Am I gapping on this?
Hi, yeah, Grace Jiang again. Yeah, that's according to the guideline, we only request the shadow studies between the spring to fall equinoxes. It's winter shadowing study is not required.
Okay, so could you just give me a sense? I mean, I appreciate that, but obviously this is a pretty significant area. But it is quite a distance too from Cornwall still. How much shadow do we?
Yeah, we actually look at that during winter on the December 21st. Yeah, and the shadows will kind of shadow the edge of the park, Kitsilano Park, and will out of the park after the afternoon. Yeah, only in the morning. It started shadowing in the park in November and ends around February. So only 3 months during the winter we're shadowing.
I guess what I'm getting at, how much of the park are we talking?
Sorry, how much?
How much of the park? Yeah.
You mean how much shadowing in the park?
Yeah. Like, is it?
In December,
Yeah.
what do we see? A couple of stories.
Okay. So not huge, not
No.
Okay.
Even 6 stories at the edge of the street, and they also shadowing in the park too.
Sure,
It's not
yeah.
essentially extended too much, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Another question, just noting in the application, it talks about that little piece of land to the west on U Street at First and U as potential future development. It's a pretty limited sized lot. What do we anticipate any kind of potential future development could look like there?
Yeah, the lots is right now is zoned RM4. It can be built up to 4-story and FSR 1.45. If under Broadway plan, it's eligible for 3 to 6 stories apartment building.
Okay, and do we anticipate that it might also include some kind of retail continuity with what's going on there right now at First and U?
Both under RM4 and it's only residential. Under Broadway plan, it's probably, the commercial also is a choice.
Okay, all right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dominato.
Thanks, Mayor. And question for staff. Just given that one of the speakers referenced the criteria for family-sized units, could you just reference and recap those for council and for the public? Because as I recall from many applications we've had, it's not just the 3 bedrooms that are considered family-sized.
Thank you. We have Emily Brooker, housing planner with the housing policy team, here to answer that question.
Thank you.
Hi, Councillor. Thank you for your question. Yeah, so the Broadway plan requires 25% 2 bedrooms and 10% 3 bedrooms. This project is broadly in compliance with that, falling slightly short in the below market rental portion, but we have conditioned that the family unit mix be met at development permit stage.
Okay, sorry. Can you just, it was hard to hear just the last portion of that around the condition that's been added?
Yes, so we have conditioned that they slightly amend the family unit mix as they are falling short of the 25% 2-bed and 10% 3-bed in the below market rental portion, just slightly. So the condition asks that they meet that at development permit stage.
Okay, and that's for the below market portion. Okay, that's perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's all my questions, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Clausen.
Yeah, just one area of questioning for our staff is there has been kind of a recurring narrative with some of the opponents of the project, specifically talking about the additional density between First and Fourth Avenues. And I just wondered if staff could sort of explain a little bit about the thinking around including this particular part in the overall Broadway plan and what it potentially means for the community.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor.
Rottenberg Special Mayor. There we go.
There we go. Special Projects Office. So the boundaries of the plan were generally set by about an 800-meter radius around the stations, which is about a 10-minute walk, which extends a bit north of First Avenue. So the plan area was set at First. In terms of the land use policy for these areas, we took an equitable approach to the heights and densities for renewal of the existing rental stock to provide that path for renewal of aging apartments. And so the 20 stories, 6.5 FSR was carried all the way up to First in the RM districts.
Okay, thank you. And just with regards to buildings sort of coming to end of life, do we have a broad inventory of the ages of some of these buildings and know where the sort of the upkeep of them versus the replacement of them, where the economics kind of tilt one way or the other?
Yeah, and maybe our housing colleagues can chime in on this. Most of the rental stock in these areas was built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So as we were developing the plan, we recognized most of these buildings would be coming to the end of their life within the 30-year plan horizon, and so would be facing major costs for building upgrades, renovations, and that's certainly an option to do, or the redevelopment path, which the plan enables, such as this project.
Okay, thank you. That covers my questions.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Maloney.
Could staff briefly discuss the plan for street trees and setback and the vision for how that fits in with the streetscape, please? We just had some questions about that.
Yeah, I can share that there's a condition in the report that the applicant will need to provide the 12-foot setback that's required per the plan, and that setback is dedicated to green infrastructure, so new street trees and greenery that will add benefits over the long run. And there's no parkade below that area, so the intention there is for those trees to be long-lived and with good vitality.
Great, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So that looks like the end of the queue. Clerk, did we receive any additional public comments since the close of the public comments?
Yes, Mayor, we did receive one within that 15-minute window, and it was in opposition. It has been circulated to council and it has been posted.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so council will now make its decision on this application. Do we have a mover for the recommendations? Councillor Kirby-Young, seconded by Councillor Meisner. Thank you. Council, is there any discussion? Seeing no one in the queue. Okay, we're now going to call a vote. Can we please go to the voting panel, and if everyone could register their vote? And is Councillor Montague still on the line there? Councillor Montague, do you need a vote assist?
No, I was able to do it on my panel.
Oh, there you go. There was a bit of a delay. Okay, well, that passes unanimously. So with that, we need a motion to adjourn. Right, Councillor Klassen, seconded by Councillor Dominato. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion's carried. This meeting is adjourned. Team members, thank you for all your hard work and congratulations.